Hello Cinnamon Bun, happy Preptober. Here are all the things that I think are important to do for Preptober, during Preptober, to prepare for NaNoWriMo. Your mileage may vary, but I think this is a pretty good place to start. You can also get a free printable version of this checklist, which I personally think is adorable, by signing up for Preptober emails. Along with that, you also get access to something called the Preptober resource tree, which I would like you to have because I spent a lot of time on it. So my Preptober checklist is broken into several different chunks because I feel like it just makes it a little bit less overwhelming. And I like it visually to be able to divide things into categories. I'm a very category person. So the first section is Know Your Novel. So this is the plotting, novel crafting, outlining stage of the game. I am always going to recommend the plot embryo technique for this because it just allows you to cut through all the crap to get to the really important stuff, which is what you need when you're going to be drafting a book in a month. You need to know what's important and what's filler. So the best way to learn the plot embryo technique, if you don't already know it, is to sign up for my free video course, How to Plot on One Page. 7 videos, all of them under 10 minutes, and that's me making that course after having used the plot embryo technique for over a year and done so many plots in it that I can't even count anymore. So you really get the benefit of my experience in a way that you don't necessarily if you just watch the first video I ever made on it, which is when I really discovered the technique. So that's where to get started, I think. The things that you want to check off in terms of Know Your Novel are: you want to have your main plot embryo nailed down. You also want to have your antagonist plot embryo nailed down. If you have an antagonist who is a character rather than a circumstance or a force of nature, then it can be really, really useful to do their plot. Even if you're not going to write any scenes from their point of view, it can really help you with the flip side, so the main plot, to see like the other side of the coin. So I really recommend doing that. And then you're going to want to think about if you want any subplots and do plot embryos for them as well. This is something that's really good to do if you've got the time, but if you're running really short on time and you really don't have that much to prep, then I would just stick to your main plot embryo, maybe your antagonist, and you will be able to get really far still just with that. And then maybe further down the line, during NaNoWriMo or after NaNoWriMo, you can focus in on those subplots. And finally, you're going to want to use those raw plot embryos to create your outline. Your outline definitely does not have to list all the details of a scene, but it's really helpful to have the broad strokes down to know where you're going. If you're not sure how to go about outlining, I recommend taking a look at my video on outlining, which was actually the last video in my How to Build a Story series. So in that series, I was talking about how to transfer those techniques into an outline. The process is basically the same, except instead of using these write-ups and brainstorming that you generated, you'll be using your plot embryos. So you take your plot embryos and then you use the outlining video to transfer that information into an outline. Hopefully that makes sense. I feel like I rambled a bit there. So, know your novel, that's it. These I consider to be the essentials. Anything else that you do above and beyond that is gravy. The next section of the checklist is connect. This is really preparing for the social aspect of NaNoWriMo. So you want to set up and announce your novel on nanowrimo.org. You want to pop in and say hi on your home region forum. And you want to find a writing buddy or buddies or community that you can check in with on your progress. One of the best parts of NaNoWriMo is feeling like you're doing this along with everyone. And so if you don't have anyone to actually speak to about it, then you're not getting the full NaNoWriMo experience. The NaNoWriMo forums are great, even if they are huge and can be a little bit overwhelming sometimes. Twitter is good, and obviously I'm biased, but my Novelcraft Lounge Discord server is awesome. Everyone there is so nice. It's a smaller community, and so people do really keep each other accountable and check in on what we've been doing. So if you're interested in that, then you can access it by becoming a patron. The next section of the checklist is organize. And the first task is to pick your milestone rewards. So one of the magical things about NaNoWriMo is that you have a really clear, solid, numerical goal, 50,000 words. And the great thing about really clear goals like that is that you can reward yourself because you know whether you've hit them or not. And working towards rewards that you've set for yourself can be one of the most motivating ways to keep writing. So decide what your milestones are going to be. Are you going to reward yourself daily, weekly, or every 10,000 words? Personally, I'm going to be doing every 10k. And for your rewards, don't pick things that you think you should enjoy or which other people seem to be picking as rewards, which sound like good rewards. Pick things which you are genuinely excited about. Things which you almost don't want to make it a reward because you kind of just want to give it to yourself right now. I haven't decided my rewards yet, but I think I probably will share them on social media or Instagram or something when I do decide. The next task is to plan out your schedule for November. If you don't already use a calendar for the rest of the year, I think you're fucking crazy, but please, dear God, have one for NaNoWriMo. I personally use my bullet journal. You don't have to use anything like that. You can use a digital one if you like, whatever works for you, but please have somewhere where you're going to plan your schedule. Because time does not just appear on trees, and you're going to need to find that time in your life if you want to win. So take a look at November, mark in any events or things that you might have which might get in the way. Put in work time, put in, I guess, Thanksgiving and stuff like that. Anything which might take away from your writing time. And try to work in buffer time before or after it to catch up. The next task is to pick your writing schedule and sprint format. So you should have planned your life in November, and now it's time to plan your writing in November. How are you going to write day to day? Will you get up early and do it before work or school? Are you going to write on the bus or on your lunch break or while your kids are napping? Maybe you're going to use that 3 sprints a day format where you try to do 500 words at breakfast, 500 at lunch, and then 700 at dinner. I personally really like that one. There is no way that you're going to end up using the same routine to write every single day in November. It's just very unrealistic. Things are going to get in the way, things are going to have to get changed, but it's really good to have a routine to fall back on for those days when you can do it. So to know when in the day you're going to try and hit your daily word count can be really useful. The next task is to set up your novel backup system. Don't lose your damn novel. In Scrivener, in the settings, you can actually set it to back up automatically to a specific folder. You could even have that folder be in a cloud storage. Otherwise, you can email it to yourself. You can use a USB flash drive. You can back it up to cloud storage like Dropbox or iCloud or Google Docs. Just don't put all your eggs in one basket here because you've put a lot of work into this, so please don't lose it. And finally, set up your word tracker. So this might be an analog tracker in a bullet journal like me. It might be an A4 page that you tape to your fridge, or it could be some kind of digital version. It might just be the NaNoWriMo website. But if there is a method of visually tracking your progress that you find more motivating than the graph that you get on the NaNoWriMo website, then it's probably worth the time to do that. The fourth section is gather tools. Firstly, gather up your survival kit. Tons of people share their survival kits on the NaNoWriMo forum, so you can get inspiration there, and I am going to actually have a NaNoWriMo survival kit video out this year as well. The next task is to pick a method or an app to write in. So how are you physically going to be writing your novel? Scrivener? Word? Google Docs? Paper? Whatever it is, make your decision. I don't really recommend doing it in multiple places because that will get very confusing and complicated when you're trying to revise, unless you've got something that syncs across devices. But yeah, make your decision and make sure you've got it all set up. And then you want to pick a way to organize your notes and brainstorming. So everything that you're generating that's to do with your novel but isn't actually the novel itself. So maybe you work on paper in a ring binder with a codex or a story bible. Maybe like me, you have a separate Scrivener document with all your research and everything. Wherever you keep all your novel related materials, if that itself isn't portable, I do recommend having some kind of portable place to capture things. It could be a small notebook that you keep in your bag. It could just be a particular note in your notes app on your phone. Do not spread it across different apps and notes and things because things will get lost. And do make sure that everything that you put into that one place, that capture out and about place, you do actually, when you get home, transfer over to where it's meant to be. Maybe try and do it every few days. Because I can't stress this enough, there is absolutely no point in making a note of an idea or something if you cannot find it again. If you're never going to see it again, you're never going to use it and implement it, then there's no point even making the note in the first place. It's just a waste of your time. I personally brainstorm a lot better on paper than I do digitally, but I don't want to carry around big notebooks and stacks of paper, so my solution for this year is I'm just going to be carrying a few sheets of A4 paper with me at all times, and once I've brainstormed on them, I'm going to use the app Scannable, which is very handy, on my phone to take a scan of that page of notes, and then I will recycle the paper itself, so that I'm not keeping the paper. I've got the notes, but I still got to do it on paper. And I import those scans into basically like a digital brainstorming notebook. And the last section of the Preptober checklist is fuel. So these ones are pretty simple comparatively. You want to stock up on easy meals. Maybe that means frozen meals for you. Maybe that means cooking some extra and freezing it. You want to stock up on quick snacks and reward candy if that's something you do. It's definitely something I do. I cannot survive NaNoWriMo without sugar. And lastly, stock up on your favourite teas or coffees or beverages. If you're not a tea or coffee person, I don't fundamentally understand you, but I understand that you guys are out there. So whatever beverage you prefer, make sure you've got plenty of that on hand. For me personally, I'll probably do like a tea run to one of those good like niche health food shops, like the kind of like vegan like health food shops. They always have really good teas, so I'm gonna hit that and make sure I pick up some. In terms of coffee, I've got some good coffee on the go right now, but I think I'm going to do like batches of cold brew. So instead of like having to grind each cup individually and then brew it up, cold brew, you can just grind a lot of coffee at once and put it in some cold water and let it brew overnight and then drain it. And it tastes really good cold or iced, but you can actually heat it up, like obviously very gently on a stove, and don't let it bubble because that means it's burning and it's going to ruin the taste. But you can actually heat it up and it tastes very similar to a filter coffee. So I might actually have like a big batch of that in the fridge and then be able to heat it up. So that's what I'm doing. And that's it. That's my Preptober checklist. This video is obviously part of Preptober, which is a month-long festival of pumpkin spice nano prep and novelcraft. And remember, the best way to get every drop of Preptober goodness is to sign up for emails, where you will get a free printable version of this checklist, along with lots of other awesome resources. Okay, we're done. Goodbye. You are this. I've just been dancing to OK Go all morning, like as I've been getting ready to shoot, and it's just like vastly improved my morning. Instead of having to grind okay, burb. I hate it when there's parcels and they're not for me. Just keep squeaking, god damn it! Do I always do a sigh? My first sip of caffeine of the day, maybe. And as usual, I need cake to do pretty much anything.